Alright, now that I have my model set up in such a way that I can just work on half of it, what I'm going to do is going to go to my front view and I'm going to enable my reference layer once again. One thing that is going to be really important for these is to have that cut that goes horizontally. Unfortunately, if I try to do the same tool that I did last time, that is going to be the Mesh Tools Insert Edge Loop, there is no way that I can have a perfectly straight cut. So this is going to be the job for my multi-cut tool. In this case, what I need to do is basically sort of eyeball where this cut is going to go. And the issue that you can see that I have over here is that my line is not going to be perfectly straight. One thing that I can totally do is just go select the first and the very last edge. When I hit enter, that is going to make the cut and it's going to be a better, more straight cut. Unfortunately, that is only going to go half of the geometry. Another option that I have in here would be make a cut and then hold shift, and that is going to go a perfect straight cut. The issue with that is that most likely I'm going to generate some n-gons, and the issue on that case here is going to be this face is an n-gon. You might be seeing it as a quad, especially on a distance, like, oh yeah, this seems like a quad, but actually this is an n-gon. How do I know this is an n-gon? It has more than 4 edges. So I have 1, 2, 3, but then I have 4 and 5 over here. There's an easy way to check for n-gons. So if I go to my mesh and I go to my cleanup options, if I reset these settings, by default, this is just going to try to clean up your geometry, but I want to select them. I just want to be able to see if I have any. So I'm going to select this and I'm going to say, hey, show me faces that have more than 4 sides. When I hit apply, that is going to highlight all of these issues that I have. So even though my horizontal cut was really well done, there's a lot of cleaning up after myself. So I'm gonna exaggerate the issue with the cut, and let's see, I'm gonna do, let's say, this here. So I'm gonna hit my Q key so I can go to the n-gon check. Over here I have an n-gon. So if I wanted to clean this up, what I will basically need to do is merge all of these vertices to the center. What happens in the front happens in the back, so I need to just deselect the ones on the back for the next tool to work, that is. So I have an n-gon over there. If I say mesh and then edit mesh, merge to center, that is going to move those in. But in some cases, that is actually going to sort of break up my geometry. See how there's a weird shading going on over here? Kind of hard to see in camera, but take a look at that. And that is happening because of the cuts and the way that this is created, but that is going to be a particular issue on this one here on the top. So that's not entirely what I want to solve my issues with. I will try to make a better cut as much as possible. So I will go to this view on the front. I'm gonna enable my visibility back, and I will make sure that my cut is as straight as possible. So again, if I hold shift and then do this click, this cut, that is just going to straight make that cut. But if I want to try to make it a little bit better, I can click first and then hold shift and click here, and that is going to create this line. It is not attached to the geometry yet, so I will try to go and put it as close as possible to those edges and those vertices here. And once I'm ready, I'll just hit enter, and that is going to make my selection. So once again, if I hold control and then click and then click, that is going to give me that straight line. So if I also do click, shift, click, it is not going to do the cut until I hit enter. Right, so that's the difference between starting with shift or not. So in here, what I'm going to do is go to my vertex, and I'm going to do that selection once again, but I want to get rid of the selection that I have on the back. So I'm going to do this, and oops, control and marquee selection. And the reason I want to do that this way is as I merge to the center, if I go edit mesh, merge to center, notice how the faces are now getting connected in a weird, awkward way. So that's not what I want. I want to deselect these guys, and once again go to my edit mesh, merge to center. Then I'm going to do another marquee selection here, but now I'm going to deselect the ones on the front, and then I'm going to go again to do my edit mesh, merge to center, and let me do that for this other side as well. So it's going to be this one, deselect the ones on the back, edit mesh, merge to center. I'm gonna hold shift and do this selection, so it's now the opposite, mesh, merge to center. And now I have the outline of my Pokeball. So let me hide this and see how it looks like. In some cases, I may wanna return to my original material so the alpha is not in my way, or the transparency, and I'm gonna click here so that it's gonna show me the default material. Now over here it seems that everything is made out of quads. I'm not in love with this geometry, but it's the best that I can do for this quick example. And I think that everything is made out of quads, but to be sure, what I'm going to do is delete the history. See here, that is going to be with Alt Shift and D, and I will go to my mesh cleanup options, make sure that everything is the way that I wanted it, and then I'm going to hit cleanup. If I hit cleanup and nothing is selected, that means that I have nothing to worry about, so that is going to be that. Now what I want to do is, in this case, I'm ready to merge both parts. One thing that I have not really talked about is the reverse face, and sometimes duplicating in a negative angle or in a negative scale is going to give me some issues. It really depends on the geometry, I guess. But if I go to shading and I say back face culling, what's gonna happen is it's going to just show me the faces that are facing in this way. See, we usually don't like see, I'm inside of the sphere, and the only thing that I'm seeing is the thing that I have selected. It doesn't really make sense to render things in two directions because that is actually taking double the time. So Maya by default is going to have the model without the backface culling. So if I go inside of the shape, I'm gonna still be able to see inside of the shape. But when you export this to a game engine, for instance, by default, you're going to be culling the faces that are facing the opposite way. So it's only one single face. In some cases, you may want to have double-sided materials and other things, but that is entirely an option that you will do in a game engine. Over here, what I want to is, once again, make sure that all of my faces are not reversed. So if that is an issue, you'll see something like this. I'm going to go to my mesh display and I will say reverse. So mesh display reverse is going to play with the normal. See, the normal now is going to be facing the other way, and what this means is that I'm actually seeing the interior or the sphere. I'm not seeing the back side of it. So also what happens to one side happens to the other. So see that is a big deal. So I'm gonna go here and then just say, you know what, just reverse these faces. Another example of that would be, let me make this thing, and what I will do is select the faces on the top, so I can do a marquee selection to the side, and then I do a marquee selection here, and if I say mesh display reverse, see, I'm unable to see the cap of the cylinder unless I go inside of the cylinder, and then I see it. But then I will just need to reverse those faces. In this case, for this shape, it didn't really happen, so I'm happy with that. But another easy way to resolve it is, once you're done with the model, which sort of I'm going to be doing something else later, what you want to do is go to the Edit Duplicate Special, but this time I want to work with a copy. And sometimes that actually just removes the issue with the reverse face. So checking for back face culling is really important in the part of the process. In some cases, it might actually just look like a black face that you will need to go manually and say select the face and then mesh display and reverse. See, it seems that I have a hole, but it's not that I have a hole, it's just my face is facing the opposite direction that it should. So I'm gonna undo that, and I'm gonna keep these two shapes. So now that I have them like this, I will go to my mesh and I'm going to combine these shapes. Then I'm going to delete the history. Notice how I have the sphere 1 and sphere 2 as a reference, and now I created this sphere tree. This is also why I haven't really named my Pokeball yet. I'm going to hit Alt Shift and D, and that is going to get rid of that. But the main issue that I have down here is that my faces are not connected. What do I mean with that? Well, if I select this one and I move it up, notice how there's a hole. That doesn't happen with faces that are connected. See, it's moving everything that is around it. In this case, these guys are not connected. So one thing that I need to do here is go to my edit mesh, and I will need to say merge. Instead of saying merge to center is going to take all of the vertices and put it in a single center position for all of them. But if I go to my edit mesh merge, what is going to happen is it's going to look for a threshold. It's going to say, hey, these things are really close enough. So what I want to is look for a distance between these points, and if they are less than this distance, that means that there's a single point inside. Most cases, this default value is fine. See, this is working perfectly, and you can see how the geometry is all messed up if I do that, but my faces are connected, which is at the end of the day what I wanted. So if I went too far in my undo, no, I'm fine. So that is it for this part. That is merging faces and making sure that you don't have any reverse faces. I will continue in the next lesson.